soul of your soul like nobody else knows here on PEMG Internet. So let's give it up for the world-renowned best talk show and entertainment show in South Florida.
Good morning, everybody. This is Yolanda, your host of PEMG Radio. We're going to have a fantastic interview this morning with a renowned artist, Fran Briggs. And we're going to do that right now. Fran, are you on the line?
Good morning, Yolanda. Yes, I am, and thank you so much for inviting me to be a guest.
Good morning, Fran. Good morning. I had a little issue this morning, Fran, but I got it solved, I think.
You did well.
How have you been?
I've been doing great. It's always an honor to meet with you. I love your radio station. I think you've got about 3 or 4 more listeners just by, sharing it to the last page.
Yes.
But I'm really proud of you, and the music actually takes me back to when I was in the 70s when my brothers and sisters used to look next door and saw our neighbors. They were 16 and 17 cleaning out their car and waxing it because they were going out that night. But that's what they were pumping in the 8-track, so I love it. Thank you.
I know. It is a nice song. And it's the theme to what I've been talking about most of this month and a little bit of last month, phenomenal women. So I found it and I was like, wow, this really is going to set it off. But let me tell everybody who Fran Briggs is. Do you mind if I do that?
No, feel free. Go ahead. Thank you.
Okay. Fran Briggs is an author, an award-winning writer, consultant, media expert, sponsor coach, human performance expert. She has inspired people worldwide to create their own fulfilling and rewarded lives. Her writing and extraordinary teaching ability have won her acclaim around the globe. That's the whole world. She has written and spoke on numerous marketing, sales, inspirational, educational topics, and has been quoted and published in a variety of publications, including Black Enterprise, Body, Health and Soul, House and Garden, The Wellness Book, Finance Advisor, and Self. She communicates with authority, clarity, and she has a sense of humor, guys. Fran has been recognized for empowering more than 1 million people through her books, articles, social media, speaking engagements, and trainings. Her philanthropic work includes innumerable health, human services organizations. She is passionate about assisting people and coaches her clients in areas of sponsorship, acquisition, writing, speaking, human performance, so they can acquire what they desire personally and professionally. An unabashed entrepreneur, her philosophies are set forth in her latest book, Just My $1 Million, where she encouraged people to prepare for their own success by revising their attitudes and adjusting their attitudes. She makes her home beautiful in Yuma, Arizona. This is Fran Briggs, guys. Welcome to the show, Fran.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Did I do that good, Fran?
You did it very well. Thank you. I appreciate it. Humble. Very humble. Thank you.
Thank you. You know what? I have to let people know that you were my first guest on the first day that I started the show.
I didn't know I was your first guest.
The first guest.
You were smooth. You were very smooth. I remember that a couple of years back.
Yes.
2 or 3. Was it 2 or 3?
It's 2 years.
2 years, okay.
2 years. It was on my 50th birthday.
Wow.
Yes. So Fran is back. I told you would be back. I got sick in between, but we're not going to talk about that. It's about you today.
Okay.
So we're back, and I have her back on the show. And Fran, you've got me curious, and I'm sure all our listeners as well. Will you please explain to me, after I've read, who you are, what you do, why you are doing so many things instead of doing just one thing very well?
That's a great question, and yes, I will explain. Yolanda, most people subscribe to that one talent channel of thinking where it probably stimulates or stems from when we were younger, do one thing and do it well. But I know better, And one of the biggest hints that we all can get is in the Bible, the book of Matthew, Matthew 25, I believe, where there's a parable where one person received 1 talent, another one received 2, and the third person received 5. And the person who had 5 talents, and in this case, talents was actually a monetary type of exchange. Well, the person who had 5, he utilized all his talents. The person with 1 did not. And because he utilized all his talents, he received the talent of the individual who did not utilize his. So I believe he got 10. I have to go back to that. So that's how I see myself, as a 10-talent Fran, not because I took 10 talents, because I received it. And what I discovered that if I utilized the God-given talents that were basically given to me, that I would receive more. And that's exactly what he has done. And that's what I encourage my family, my friends, and certainly my clients to do as well. That's the biggest hint that you have. What do you do well? And realize that that was imparted into you for you to actually share with the world. It's not about you. So once people actually grasp that concept and implement it, then they're going to be on their way to being totally fulfilled in their lives.
Absolutely, and I agree with you. I mean, I do many things also. I mean, and I don't know anyone who isn't successful, Fran, that doesn't do many things. So I'm right on the same page with you, and I agree with you so much about what you say. And thank you for quoting the scripture in Matthew. You know, I forgot about that one. You're good. I like that. I'm writing that down.
Okay, Matthew 25, that's where there is. No problem.
Matthew 20, repeat that scripture for those who listen. Matthew 25.
And I believe it's the 14th verse. Matthew 25, 14, or 28, around that area. But it's definitely Matthew 25.
Okay. Thank you. So now we know why you do what you do. And then you got spiritual backing for it.
Oh, you have to. I mean, that's the fuel that keeps me moving. And it keeps. I mean, if I didn't have the backing, I'd be stagnant. Without a doubt, most definitely.
Right. Absolutely. And then, like I always explain to people that the Bible is a spiritual guide for those who take it and put it in another statute. It's a spiritual guide. It's been created so that we as humans can have something to look forward to having as a backup for whatever we decide to do and not do in life.
Agreed. I totally agree.
Being an award-winning writer, congratulations, Fran.
Thank you.
You also offer a course to learn how. What prompted you to do so?
Oh, wow. I can tell you it was about maybe 8 years ago, or 7 or 8 years ago. I don't remember when. I was invited to actually co-facilitate a writing course. And I would be co-facilitating with 4 other professionals. Well, the problem was I was the only writer. So, quite frankly, it didn't make sense to me. That and the fact that the training was astronomical. I think it was like $4,000, $3,999. I just thought it was ridiculous. And I was looking at the content, and that didn't resonate with my soul, meaning that the people who would be attending would not get their money's worth, not to even factor in the course of travel and, hotel accommodations. I think it'd probably be out of pocket almost, $5,000.
Right.
So I decided that, I would be inspired to turn this little negative situation around and actually create a course which would help individuals all over the world how to not just be a writer, but a paid and published writer. And it's a great course. I keep it updated, and it really works with all types of venues. And people want to be connoisseurs of food, or even wine. If you want to do investigative reporting, or how to monetize your blog, technical writer. It just covers everything, and I owe it to my students to keep it updated. I also go ahead and offer consultation along with the course. A lot of times people take training, they don't have that one-on-one communication with the trainer. So I do make a point to personalize my training so they have access to me. I don't want to leave them stranded. So
Okay.
that's it in a nutshell.
Okay. Very good. Very good. So pretty much anyone can come to you and ask to be a part of that course, correct?
Oh, they can. That's not a problem at all. If they want to inquire or even have a one-on-one conversation with me by phone before they make a decision whether or not to take the course, they are more than welcome to.
Okay. All right, sounds good. Now, I noticed that you work for one of the world's major companies. First of all, you don't have to tell us who it is, but maybe you want to. And was there a particular event that served as a catalyst for leaving corporate America?
Yeah, I don't mind saying who it was, and I'm sure they don't mind any way. At the time, they were Philip Morris USA, the tobacco industry, and they went under another industry. I worked for them, and the catalyst that served for leaving that company was the conflict of interest. I didn't smoke cigarettes. I didn't allow it in my house, so it was a major conflict. And then, God will use the little one, the children, to really drive the point home and really call me on that. And I guess there was a couple of series events. One, the nieces and nephews who were always outspoken, very respectful. They were just drilling me, and that was the time in the 80s where you had a DARE campaign, not smoking, and Nancy Reagan was doing her thing. And actually, I was really teaching before I actually took the position at Philip Morris. It was just a contact, invited to come on board, and I did. It was a wonderful experience. I actually, even though it was in the 80s, I can use the knowledge and some of the applications that I was doing back then today, very current, way ahead of the time. And they were the largest consumer practice and packaged goods, I should say. So if I had to say, the one event was when I went back to the school that I used to teach at, and one of the students said, "Miss Briggs, you left us. You traded us in for a carton of cigarettes." and I just looked at her, and kids will just be so blatantly honest, and it hit home. And well, I guess I did several cartons, but I wouldn't take back the experience. But the fact that there was such a conflict of interest, I had to resign, most definitely.
Do you think conflict of interest with a company that you're not particularly using the products can deter you from being heartfelt in your job situation or employment situation? This is just an off-the-wall question.
I know. No, actually, it's a very good question, Yolanda. It can, but not necessarily. And I'll just give you an example that certain products and services aren't designed for everyone. I mean, if you're talking about men health products, it's perfectly appropriate to have a female salesperson or representative, in the position of marketing, but she wouldn't personally use it. So there are exceptions to each situation.
Okay. Now I'm going to ask you a question. We have a new re-elected president, Obama, and the focus has been on employment. What do you think? And this is just a personal opinion from you. He needs to do in order to increase the employment situation in the United States. What would you do if you were in his position?
Well, I think anyone in that position, commander-in-chief, would have to stay communicative with people right there in Washington and then encourage them to, report back to all the different levels, regionally, and locally. So communication is definitely key. And then there's all types of programs, and most of them, unfortunately, have been blocked. But to be successful, the implementation of those programs have to